Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today I have a crazy U7 build for you guys today, one that I've really been enjoying. This is actually a crazy aggressive build with lots of tech cards that you guys most likely have not seen in U7. I know it's another U7 deck, but I mean, this one is so teched out, so interesting, and so different from the baseline builds that I think you'll really get a kick out of it, maybe get some ideas for other decks. But before that, guys, you guys might be wondering why there was no upload yesterday. I missed an upload for the first time in I don't know how long, but there was a reason for that. I was working on something big, and if you guys didn't see my announcement yesterday, I am so happy to be telling you guys that I am officially in production for my first comic book, New Mafia Genesis. I made a post about it yesterday in the community tab, as well as the Crossroad Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. I'm super proud of this, guys. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. If you guys want more information about it, go down in the description. The link to Indiegogo is down there. That's my crowdfunding campaign where you read about the synopsis of the story, you can meet some of the characters, and you guys can donate to that if you guys want to help me out. Big project of mine, big passion, and I really do appreciate all your guys' support, whether it be for that, the Dragon Ball stuff. I am forever in your debt. I really do appreciate it. Anyways, let's talk about a spicy U7 Goku build. So we have the leader, of course. I'm just going to break down right into the deck list because so much of it we're so used to, right? So blowing past the obvious stuff, we had the 4 Sign of Mastery, the 4 Super Combos, the 4 Frieza Golden Avenger, or not Golden Avenger, he's golden in this, but for Universe Survival. This is actually a key player in this deck with some of the stuff you'll see here. If you don't know what this stuff does, we'll talk about it in a minute. Of course, the 4 Android 17s, the 4 Heeding the Call, the 1 Vegeta SCR, which, I mean, technically, if you don't have this card, you can play a multitude of red SCRs. You could play Gohanks, because if you notice, we're not playing a Unison in this build, and that's pretty intentional. But we'll talk more about that probably towards the end of the video. But yeah, you can play this, you can play Gohanks, you could play Heroine's Lineage if you're on a budget, you could play Kai, Pan, whatever you have, you can play in this deck. But Vegeta, of course, is the best one because it's one of the best SCRs in this format, and the leader can pick it up from the drop area with his once per game effect. We have our 3 Vegetas. This is a card that I've always liked more than other U7 players for whatever reason. I just value the ability to remove barrier cards, and this card's actually more important with Bulma having taken the W at the Philly Regional. Being able to remove 2 my blockers from the board is very big. And just besides that, there's actually a cool combo in this deck that again we'll talk about later with some of the tech. The 2 Violent Rays, of course. This can be Violent Rays, this can be Imposing Presence depending on what floodgate you want to main board. We have 4 copies of Gohan. You can play Gohan, or you can play Android 18, which is a tournament pack, essentially the equivalent of this card. But in this deck, which is actually different than my other U7 builds, I am actually playing a 4-card skillless engine because we're leaning more heavily into Divine Presence, and we'll talk about him when we get to him. But yeah, so in this build, I would recommend playing Gohan. Maybe you could fit in the Android 18s. I definitely would not cut the Heeding the Calls, though. This card is very important, again, for a tech card that we'll see in just a little bit. But anyways, 3 Afterimage, staple of a deck like this when you have this much sparking. You could play the 4th, but again, this is a much more aggressive build of the deck, so I think playing 3 is totally fine. 3 Vegeta Resolve Renewed, of course, have to answer our floodgates. And then we're playing the Heartfelt Plea. So Heartfelt Plea is a card in U7 that seems like a little volatile. Some people love it, some people hate it. I am personally of the opinion, and I have been for quite a while, if you guys saw my last U7 deck profile, I am of the opinion that this card just raises the ceiling of the deck, because if you can ever actually play a Heartfelt Plea, it's a free K, 30k double striker that has offering, right? Your opponent either crits a life or you draw 2 cards. If they, I don't know, God sealing this, you basically made them discard a card for literally free, which is fine. You can pitch this off Violent Rays, you can pitch this off of King Vegeta Imposing Presence. If you're still on your Awakened side and you realize that you can't really use it, you can always pitch it off of your Unawakened leader. So I think the upside to having the 1-of Heartfelt Plea is just worth it, and there's actually a lot more ways in this build to proc it than in previous builds. We of course have the 2 copies of Goku Legend Personified. Just got an awesome reprint in the History of Goku theme selection. But besides that, play, draw a card, bond 3 once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, this card gets plus 21k until the start of your next main phase. So this build is especially easy to get that bond 3 online. This is a card that I've been playing for a while in U7, mostly to help facilitate the Heartfelt Plea. But the more and more I play with this card, the more I really just appreciate the fact that it's a 1-drop 25k attacker. So it's good in and of itself outside of Heartfelt Plea. Not only is it a 25k attacker for 1, but it also replaces itself. Like, the card is actually just insane value. If you can get the bond off, it's really good. The 1 Champa, of course. And now we come to some of the newer cards, at least for my U7 builds, right? So 3 copies of Divine Presence. Talked about this quite a bit. Even going back to King Piccolo, I found that Divine Presence wasn't always that great because there are better things, or maybe not better things, but you could do more, as in play more cards, create more pressure for less energy. But in this particular format, Goku Divine Presence does dodge a lot of problem cards that your opponent might hit you with. One of the only things this is really vulnerable to is in the yellow matchup, I guess, Power of a Super Saiyan, but that card's limited to 1. You can't really justify playing around it at all times because, again, it's a Saki one of they might have. The other thing is going to be Videl counterplay, but you can always have the Resolve Renewed ready for the Videl counterplay to protect your Divine Presence. So that's really solid, and playing more copies of this with our Skillless just makes the engine work a lot better because you'll have Gohan, combo with Skillless, combo something else, maybe even the Gohan itself, then you can play Divine Presence. That works really well. Then Divine Presence, of course, will search you more Skillless, just adding more cards to your hand. This has been one of the driving factors of the deck, and the one thing you'll notice is there's no Ultra Mastery in this deck. Every single deck in the meta, for the most part, is building to be able to beat these high cost boss monsters because every single color has them, right? U7 has Ultra Mastery, GT has the Trio, Gamma has a 9-drop cell, so all these decks are playing these cards that allow them to beat these ultra high-end boss monsters. And you'll notice that in this deck, besides the Secret Rare, 2 energy is the most you're ever paying for one card. So we are playing a much lower to the ground curve. We are playing a much more aggressive build of U7. Speaking of which, we come to this Frieza Xeno package. So this is one of the coolest things that was pointed out to me, is that 1-star ball Parasitic Darkness. Choose one Frieza card, the energy cost of 4 in your battle area, and place this card under it. This does not care about the color, does not care about what type of Frieza it is, and our Golden Frieza works perfectly with this. So you play up to 1 green Frieza Xeno in your deck or hand on top of the chosen card in active mode, then shuffle your deck if you looked through it. So basically what you do is you'll play your Frieza, minus 15 something, attack twice for that dual attack, and then you use your 1-star ball Parasitic Darkness to go into Frieza Dark Infestation, which comes in active mode, remember. So now you get a 15k double strike on top of the other effects. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, when this card is removed from your battle area by a skill or KO'd, even its own skill, that'll be relevant in a second, add up to 1 green extra card with energy cost of 1 or less from your drop area to your hand, then activate main, place the card in the owner's drop area, then choose up to 1 card in your opponent's hand and discard it. So you're getting that aggression, which is going to cost them to negate, combo, whatever, take another card out of their hand, bring the ball back to your hand, so any future Friezas you draw, you're going to be just cycling that and looping that and playing more copies of Frieza Dark Infestation. This is really huge because we all know how much Bandai's been doing to reduce free play in the game, right? And this is free play. I mean, it's very specific to a strategy like this where you have a 4-cost Frieza to actually do it with. But I mean, when you can do it, maybe you should do it. Like, again, this is a much more aggressive version of the deck. You have for 1 energy, 4 potential damage, 4 swings, or yeah, not 4 swings, but 4 damage because this guy swings once, but for 2 damage. So yeah, really big stuff here. I am a big fan of this engine in particular. And again, like, Resolve Renewed for the Videl is a very popular counterplay in red right now. Not a lot of red is playing Yamcha unless you're playing against the GT matchup in particular, but honestly, this engine also gives you the ability to potentially clear GT's Unison before they can actually get their engine going. Like, this is enough attacks to possibly do that if you go first. And you know, it requires them to not see their Yamcha or their difference of status, which is, you know, definitely going to be annoying. But honestly, difference of status probably wouldn't even be that viable because they have to remove a certain amount of markers to get you low enough. Because if you have to, you can always combo up on this. I mean, your super combos are live from pretty much turn 1, turn 2. So that's a pretty interesting matchup dynamic there, where typically U7 struggles against GT because of GT's massive hand size, but this build might be able to knock their Unison out on turn 2, which is cool. Now we come to the coolest card in the deck, and I gotta shout out my teammate Jordan Markle and Nick Brady for this tech that he played at the Philly Regional, and I found it to be so cool. Stealth Silhouette Gamasaurus. This is a 1-drop from Draft Box 4 or 5, and activate main once per turn. Choose 1 battle card with energy cost of 1 from your deck, place in your drop area, then shuffle your deck, then choose 1. So firstly, I want to break down this part of the effect first. If you use this effect to mill a 1-drop, you can mill Android 17 Heeding the Call, which all it says is when this card is placed from your drop, from your deck by a skill, play it from your drop. It doesn't have to be like specifically milled by your leader effect or anything. So you use Gamasaurus to dump this directly from your deck. You literally just play it. So you just generate a 5k combo for free essentially. And then you have the other effect that says choose one of your battle cards, gets plus 5,000 for the turn. So making Frieza a 24k dual attacker or Android 17 a 20k dual double striker is really cool. That plus Vegeta now. Vegeta can actually be turned into Heartfelt Plea, which is huge. One thing I want to mention that's actually a little bit tricky and sneaky is that, unfortunately, Goku Divine Presence can't be turned into Heartfelt Plea as far as I'm aware. Because of his permanent, this card can't be removed from your battle area by skills during your turn. That's going to include your own skills. It's really, really troll that this is worded this way, and when it was pointed out to me, I had to do a double take because, you know, it's really unfortunate that it's worded this way to where it actually has a slight restriction on you. But still, Gamasaurus can turn other things into Heartfelt Plea, which is really, really cool. And again, the fact that you just dump 17 and get a free play out of it is awesome. So this card alone gives you the fodder to play Divine Presence as well, because you can just play Gamasaurus, use the effect, buff something, and then you can play the 17 from your deck, combo them both off, play Divine Presence. Very good synergy there. Final card in the main deck, we have SS3 Goku, One Hit Wonder. Just another free play. I mean, we're always going to be minusing things. I could even see playing more copies. But yeah, for now, the one of is fine. Could be two. And I do think this main deck could be improved upon because, you know, you notice we don't play Unisons. Maybe there's a hybrid build where you still play Baby Unison, or maybe even play the 2-cost Unison version just to have a cheaper, lower to the ground Unison, so we're not paying more than 2 for anything in the deck. That could totally be an option. But this is a full-on aggro build. All of our energy is dedicated to battle cards that are just putting pressure on the opponent, and I really, really liked it. Just some side deck ideas for you guys. I mean, these are popular red sideboards, nothing too crazy. King Vegeta's Imposing Presence, we talked about it. Broly Crown, great against your blue matchups, not as good against yellow, I have to say. Concentrated Destruction, probably a little bit too costly for this version of the deck, I do have to say. I mean, this deck's paying 2 at the most to attack with battle cards, paying 2 to warp something with barrier might not be all that great. And then Gamasaurus is a fine bait out to the yellow Trunks and the yellow Trunks matchup, the blocker, so that's fine. Debor Ritual at hand, of course, for your cooler matchups, maybe your green cell matchups. Strategies of U7 is not too bad. I will say this build is less reliant on Sand, so maybe it's not as good, but against blue, going up against like the Baby Unison, for example, or sorry, the Boo Unison, strategies can be okay. King Vegeta's Hidden Ambitions is excellent against green decks right now, stopping Norm potential that they activate for free. Even blue, if they sparking the D magic, that's great. Koitsukai has just general synergy with this deck because you can always pitch it, you can mill it, and then it's live. And then, like I mentioned before, we're not really playing Ultra Mastery in this build. You could sideboard it. Maybe there's a matchup where it just kind of auto wins, and maybe you need it for, like, I don't know, a random Hachiyak deck or something, but it is there as a potential sideboard. But anyways, guys, again, this U7 list is super teched out. I doubt you've seen anything like it anywhere else, but let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.